Hello and welcome everyone. Today I'm making ciabatta with Biga or Biga, depending on how you pronounce it. I was told, or I researched, I don't know how true this is, that Biga is the American pronunciation and Biga is like European, which this is Italian, so I'm not sure. I used to say Biga all the time. Now I'm like, well, maybe I should say Biga because I'm American. I don't know. So basically I had to mix my Biga last night, 12 to 16 hours before starting this process, which takes about 6 hours or so. But anyway, letting that sit for 12 to 16 hours. Mine sat for 14. You'll see I'm doing the intro right now. But I said in the beginning, when I filmed before this, as I started this process, mine sat for like 14 hours, ended up being, so right in the middle. But anyway, it's like a pre-fermenting process, so it adds some taste and it adds some additional rise to the dough. This is also a folded bread, so you're not going to be doing any kneading for it. But ciabatta is known for this open crumb. It's very good for sandwiches. Mine's a little soft, like it usually gets a little crustier on the bottom, or on the outside, I mean. So, I mean, it's not bad. Probably after a day or two it'll get a little crusty. So the inside though, the crumb is open like this, where it's got these little pockets in it, and that is what ciabatta typically is. I also made some rolls, but they're not quite done yet as far as filming this intro, but this is what we're making today, ciabatta. And just quickly to show you in the intro, here's the rolls, they're done. Also, I wanted to say before I forgot, this recipe in the book, by the way, I think I forgot to mention that altogether too. I know I've mentioned in other videos, but if this is the first one you're watching, I'm going through this book, Bread Baking for Beginners by Bonnie Ohara, and doing the key recipes. I did this initially, not the whole book, but most of it, 2021, when I was first learning how to make some breads. And this is what I was gonna say. This is my favorite recipe out of the book. I've made this, I lost count how many times, but I'm very impressed by this one. I like making this one over and over again. It's relatively easy, and I always have good results, even the first time I made it, which I'm going to show you in the bonus, but here they are. So let me show you how to make it. All right, everyone, it's another bread today, ciabatta. So this is made with Biga, as I said in the intro. This is my Biga. It's been just about 14 hours, so between 12 and 16 hours you're supposed to let it sit, so it's been 14, so I got it right in the middle. And again, it's just like the poolish that we made with the baguettes, the last bread video I did, and it's sort of similar to sourdough starter, but it's a pre-fermented part of the process. All right, so I mixed this up last night. I have some footage I'll put on the screen, but it's 200 grams of flour, 160 grams of water, and a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. So, and then you mix it up, let that sit overnight, 12 to 16 hours. Mine's 14. And we're going to be mixing that with the rest of our ingredients for the ciabatta. So again, I have some of the ingredients pre-measured. I got the flour and salt here. This is 1,000 grams of flour and 20 grams of salt. Very similar to other recipes we've done. The yeast, you do 4 grams instead of 8, because you have some yeast in here as well. And then the water is 800 grams. So we're going to measure the water and the yeast together, and the rest of it I've done already. All right, so you want this water here to be about 90 to 95 degrees in general. And again, I'm weighing my ingredients, but I will give the volumetric measurements as always in my recipe. So again, I want 800 grams of water. I know you can't see the scale right now because the bowl is too big. I had a third camera and put it up, but there we go, perfect. All right, 800 grams of water, and then 4 grams of yeast, which I probably should have measured first. in its own container, but we'll see how this goes. All right, that was actually quite perfect. All right, now I'm going to mix the Biga here in with the water and yeast. Probably should get something to scrape this out. You see how light and fluffy it is after it's been rising all night, fermenting. A little sticky. All right, that is done. Now I'm going to mix this together. I'm just going to use a whisk for now because it's a little wet. Probably could take this off the scale too. Just get this incorporated into the water, dissolved a little bit. See how bubbly it is. It's pretty good. Right. Wash my hands. All right, now I'm going to mix the flour and salt in. 1,000 grams of flour, 20 grams of salt. That one was open. Get this off the scale because we don't need that anymore. I'm going to put this away. Right. And again, as I always do, I mix by hand. That's what the book recommends, and I've gotten used to doing that. If you're looking for more of an explanation on mixing, I have a timestamp from an earlier video I always put out for the mixing part because I explained it more in that video, but I'm probably just going to fast forward it through this one, so pretty much the same. All right, so now you let this rest for about 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes with it lid on, and then we're going to fold, not knead this one. All right, so it's been resting for a bit. Now we're going to do folding. So I do have another longer explanation about this on another video. Here's a timestamp, but I'm going to go over it real quick here. So what we're going to do is, you imagine your bowl as a clock, 12, 3, 6, 9. So we're going to take the top down, spin the bowl, so 3 is at 12 now, top down, over and over, and you go around the clock 2 or 3 times until the dough kind of comes together in its own little ball. So that's what I'm going to do now. All right, that was 3 times around the clock. It's looking pretty good. Could be a little tighter, but we're going to be folding it again in an hour. So now what you do is you let it rise for an hour, and then you fold it again like that 2 or 3 times again. And then you let it rise for another hour. So it's 2 hours total rise, but halfway through you're going to do a folding. So what I'm going to do, normally I put this in a bigger container to rise. I'm going to leave this in here now for the first hour. So it's going to rise for an hour, and then I'm going to do the folds, and then I'm going to put it in my other container so it can continue to rise because it's going to be very large. So after an hour, we'll see how full this bowl is. All right, so this is the first rise after an hour. Now I'm going to do another set of folds, and then I'm going to put it in my other container, this one, so that it can rise the rest of the way for the next hour. I did wash my hands. I didn't film that part. Hard to stretch and fold, so did 2 times around the clock. I think that's pretty good for this. Now I'm gonna wash my hands real quick again, then I'm gonna get my scraper and plop it in here. Plopped in. All right, second hour is done. Look how much it's risen. Need to flour my countertop. Then I'm gonna take this out, spread it out on the countertop, and then I'm gonna cut it into 4 pieces. Well, I think I'm gonna make rolls out of 1 or 2 of the loaves, so it makes 4 loaves technically. But I'm gonna cut those smaller pieces to make rolls out of them also, not just loaves. So, took that out already. So we're here. That's what I'm gonna cut with, my metal scraper. Then I have my plastic scraper. So to get this out. Now, ciabatta, if I didn't mention this before, is typically like an airier interior, like there's holes in the crumb, the inside of the loaf. So you want to kind of not try not to disturb that in the dough. So I'm going to carefully try to get this off the side like this. Try to plop it out. Get off the bottom a little bit. Try to plop it out without disturbing it, if that makes sense. Like that-ish. Alright, so I got my loaf, or my dough ball here. I'm going to cut in 4 pieces at first, and then I'm going to cut 1 or 2 of those bigger pieces into smaller pieces. So in fact, what I might do is this one. This. Again, trying not to disturb the fluffiness inside. Like this is a pretty good loaf on its own. I don't want to see if there's a bubble there. I don't want to disturb that. These are kind of long. They're not really supposed to be that long, so I'm going to cut some off of here to make my rolls. Like that. Probably cut that in half again. Maybe. See. Kind of a smaller one. That's okay. Right. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. This is probably pretty good too, or it is. And then these ends off, make little rolls out of them. That, like I said, this is kind of big compared to the others, so that's pretty good. sort of rectangular is what you want, but I'm not going to be that picky about the shape on mine. So that looks pretty good. So I've got kind of 4 mini loaves here, and then I've got 5 rolls. That's what I ended up with. All right, now they're going to proof for an hour. So now I need to flour the tops of them a little bit and then cover them with a kitchen towel to let them proof for an hour. And while it's proofing, I need to preheat my oven to 475 Fahrenheit. And then we will let them proof for an hour. All right, they've been proofing for about an hour. Here they are again. I'm gonna probably have to do this in 2, hopefully only 2 batches, but it's another one where we have to do steam. So I have a roasting pan full of water here. I'm gonna put that in the oven first. On the bottom. All right, so I'm going to transfer my loaves here onto the pan. I think I can fit the 3 one, maybe not, maybe 2 on here. 2 of the bigger ones, maybe a few rolls. Anyway, I'm going to transfer as many as I can onto here with them not growing together. And I'm going to bake that at 475 for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to take the steam out that I just put in, bake them for another 5 minutes, and then I'll do the second batch. Hopefully it's 2 batches. I can put those 2 pans in the same time. The second round. So, all right, let's see. Well, first of all, I'm going to get some of this excess flour off. Some of it. I don't have a lot. It's starting to grow together. Yeah, I think 2 is going to do it here. Okay. Get a little misshapen. All right, so I'm gonna put these in for 15 minutes and then take the steam out. Check back in when it's done. All right, that's the first batch. I just took out the steam. 5 more minutes. Meanwhile, this is batch number 2. I decided to do the 2 loaves together rather than a loaf and some of the rolls because those will probably take less time. So I'm gonna do these next. I'll do the rolls, the 3rd batch. All right, first batch is done. Take those out. Good. All right, let's get the steam back in for batch number 2. And for 15. That's good. Cool. Closer look at batch number 1. I'm gonna cut into it in a little bit. Show you all the open crumb. Hopefully it turned out right, but it usually does. So I guess we'll see. Just took the steam out of the second batch. That's them right there in the oven. 5 more minutes. All right, I got the 3rd batch here with the rolls ready to go in. I reduced the oven temperature to 450 because I figured they're smaller and I don't want them to burn or anything. I'm going to reduce the time as well, but I'm going to take the second batch out. in. I'm going to cook them, bake them for, I'm going to do like 6 minutes with the steam, and then I'll do like 5 minutes without and see how they look. Now these are almost ready to cut into. I'm probably going to do that when I take the steam out, because it's supposed to sit like 30 minutes. Those have been in for 20, so. All right, the roll batch. This is how they look after the steam came out. I'm going to cook them 5 more minutes, see how they look, but we'll see. They might need to go in a little longer. As for these, let's cut into them. I'm going to move this one. I'm just going to cut into one for now. We'll see how, maybe if it doesn't turn out well, maybe I'll do another one. But I'll cut this one. First of all, feels like it could be a little more crispy on the outside, but I'm pretty sure it's done. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this one. Cross section. So I just cut this in half. Here is the cross section. So you got some holes there, the open crumb. This actually is pretty good. We'll see, maybe the other ones turn out a little better. I'm gonna try the other one that is ready now too. See how that looks. A little bit more open crumb in there, but that's what ciabatta is supposed to be. It's kind of flatter, but it rises up a little bit in the oven and gives it you that open crumb. Very good for sandwiches, which is what we would be using for probably. But anyway, let's wait for the rolls to come out. All right, this is the rolls after the 5 minutes without the steam. They're looking a little light, so I'm gonna put them back in for a few minutes. I'm gonna check it, like 2 minutes later, and then maybe a minute or so increments after that. We'll see how it turns out. All right, taking the rolls out. It's been like 2.5 minutes actually, but I just looked at them and they look pretty good, so I'm gonna take them out. So in total, it was 6 minutes with the steam and about 7.5 without the steam. They look pretty good. Done with the oven. Actually, I don't want that there. Move my phone. This one's good. This one's pretty good. Good. This side are a little sticky to the bottom. Not too bad. Okay. Good. Lots of dishes to do. That is the rolls now. Obviously, I have to let these cool, but we're probably going to eat these tonight with our sandwiches and maybe snack on some of this. And then I'm actually going to probably freeze 2 of these loaves so we can have it some other time. And then we'll snack on the rest of the bread and eat it with sandwiches the next couple of days. Should last. I usually put it in the fridge actually, so it lasts a little longer. But here they are. Isn't it beautiful? Ciabatta. Jazz, you're in my picture. You know that? Jazz, you want some of this bread? Hmm?